Okay, well, I chose that one because I think it's the first song I can really remember, and I'm a bit like Lynn. I can remember marching around singing it with my brother. So I grew up in Bromley in Kent, so I'm a suburban child, and I think I tried to escape the suburbs. There's a bit of a theme there. So yeah, it was quite hard to choose a kind of typical song from my childhood because there are obviously so many, but we did used to have a lot of records of the musicals, so like Mary Poppins and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and stuff like that. But I thought the video for Yellow Submarine was perfect, really funny. So that's kind of my childhood. And I also could have had a lot of piano pieces because I did play the piano and spent a lot of time practicing. But actually, in terms of choosing something fun, I thought that was better. And so siblings, I had a brother who was 2 years older and my sister was 5 years older, and she was quite influential in terms of music. She had a lot of records, and so I would kind of sneak in and play her records, and she had a lot of Rod Stewart and David Bowie, who appears next.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm jumping to kind of sixth form because I remember not that David Bowie was particularly, well, he was big around then, but actually there are a lot of ones I could have chosen, but this one is just really good for bopping, I think.
There we go.
I mean, David Bowie actually used to live in Bromley, very close, or Bickley, very close to where we used to live. Not that I knew that at the time, but there's a link there. But actually, when I was in the sixth form, that was just an amazing time for music. I remember one weekend going to the cinema and like one after the other. There was like Grease that came out. There was Saturday Night Fever that came out. There was James Bond film with Nobody Does It Better. Do you remember that song, Carly Simon? So it was really hard to choose something from around that time. But I chose David Bowie because I just think he's amazing, the way he just keeps reinventing himself. So yeah, university, I really, really enjoyed it, and had quite a bit of music, I suppose, like not singing particularly, but just really enjoying pop music. And then, yeah, so in terms of what happened, I wanted to get a job where I could travel.
Yeah, well, what did you do at university?
Okay, I went to Cambridge and I did natural sciences. And the idea was that I would do physics, but because I had a gap year, I'd kind of forgotten all my maths and physics, and I found it really, really hard. So it wasn't actually the best place to do physics because it was just very full of, incredibly clever people. And actually, I don't think it was particularly well taught at the time. So I knew I wanted to do geophysics, so go into oil exploration. So I could have done geology or physics. So I went over to the geology side and I ended up doing geology. And then I got a job with BP. Now, BP was fabulous because they had offices all over the world. And I was very lucky because I got a job straight from university, and I was based in London and did temporary postings. And I was fortunate enough to get sent to China, where I met my husband-to-be. Although, so he was working out there also as a geophysicist, but we didn't get together then. So that was for 6 months, and they also sent me to Indonesia, which was really, really interesting. And then after 2 years, that was when you came up for your posting, your kind of permanent posting. So I was thinking, right, I might get Australia, I might get San Francisco. And then I heard that a lot of people going to Norway. I thought, oh my God, Norway is going to be really cold and boring. And then I got Norway too. But it was actually the best thing that could have happened, because actually Norway is the most fabulous country to live in. And they've got a wonderful attitude to work. You work like kind of 8 till 4, and then you play. And in the summer, you know, there's effectively another day from 4 till midnight to do whatever you like, you know, go walking, sailing, windsurfing. And of course, in the winter, there's the skiing. And BP were very kind to its employees. There was a series of hutters up in the mountains, and we used to kind of get ourselves in little groups and put ourselves in for the ballot. So at least one of us would win a hutter for the weekend. So most weekends in the winter, we'd be out in a BP hutter doing cross country or downhill skiing. It was just amazing.
Wow.
But
was that based in Oslo, or were you?
No, it was Stavanger. It's like the kind of oil capital of Norway is Stavanger. It's on the west coast. Right. So unfortunately, I had a bit of a kind of midlife crisis in my 20s, where I just kind of realized I was doing the wrong job. And so I realized I probably should have done medicine. But I felt it was kind of too late to do that. So I was looking, because I've done this traveling in my first 2 years with BP, I realized I kind of wanted to do something more with people than working in an office. So I found this course at the School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, which is on the news quite a bit with COVID and everything, but they're amazing School of Public Health. And there was a course in nutrition, which had always been a big interest of mine. So I retrained in nutrition, and the thing about their course, their master's course, was it was very international based. So you could do a year and then immediately go out and work overseas. They just asked for a science or social science. So I retrained in nutrition, and this is the link with the next music, which, oh no, I've skipped Norway. Norway was, yeah, so I'm still in Norway. The amazing thing about Stavanger was they had a lot of oil money, and they built this lovely concert house. So it was the Stavanger Concert House Choir, which I joined. And it was great because I kind of made friends with some local people. It was very easy to just socialize with BP people, but I made some local friends through this choir. But the best thing was we were singing all the big works, which I'd never sung before. It was like the first big choir I'd sung with. So I chose the Dvorak Stabat Mater because it really blew my mind when I sang it. It's just the most wonderful piece. I don't know if you've all sung it probably, but just absolutely loved it. So yeah, I just had to pick one out of the 8, and it's about halfway through.
I think I've lined this at the right place. Let's see.
Any of them would be fine.
I hate choosing when to stop these beautiful things. But everyone can always go back and play the whole thing through if they want.
Yeah, if you don't know it, I really recommend it. I mean, I've never heard it. I haven't sung it with our choir. I mean, the great thing about this choir was it was like the Thames Philharmonic, I guess, that we sang with a professional orchestra. But, you know, in my early 20s, that was just so exciting to sing with this huge orchestra. And I had to book like a half day off because we had the rehearsals in the afternoon with the concert in the evening. And it was just like a real high point of the, you know, of the quarter to just sneak out of the office and then go and sing with this amazing orchestra. And like singing like the Verdi Requiem, because I was a soprano at the time. And I remember the conductor just saying, you know, that one where you really have to kind of scream, it's so high. And the conductor said, doesn't matter what you sing, just get the right note and go for it. Just get the vowel, you know. And so that was very exciting. Yeah, so we sang the Brahms Requiem and Verdi Requiem, all the big works. Yeah, so then I came back to England and retrained in nutrition. And then it took a while to get a job. So I was looking for work with an aid agency, basically. and it took me a few months, and then I found something through a charity that was based in London, and they were very mysterious. They said, yes, we're looking for somebody, and you will be sent to a war zone. Do you mind? And by then I was kind of, yes, I'll just go anywhere. So you just send me somewhere, kind of thing. And so they had actually been asked to recruit for UNICEF to send people to Afghanistan. So my first job as an international nutritionist, if you like, was in 1989. Actually, well, no, it was the beginning of 1990. And the Russians had just pulled out of Afghanistan, and there'd been a really bad winter the winter before. And so UNICEF were coming in doing an emergency winter kind of feeding program for the children. So I was recruited for that fortunately, together with someone else who did the same course as me. So I was sent out there, 2 of us English girls, and there was a big team of people out there. And it was quite an incredible experience. And part of the reason it was incredible was actually the group of people out there, which leads me to the next piece of music, which is Gypsy Kings, because there was a very diverse group, people from all over the world, and actually it kind of opened my mind to kind of world music, because up till that point I've been very kind of classically trained. So the Gypsy Kings was just a fun kind of example of the kind of music that we listen to.
Okay, and here they come.
Yeah, so actually we listen to a lot of African music as well, because people had worked all over the place. And so I kind of dragged myself away from Afghanistan because I'd applied for a job before I went there, basically back at the School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. It was a research assistantship. And while I was out in Afghanistan, I heard that I got it. And so I made this decision. I'd actually been offered to stay in Afghanistan, and because UNICEF obviously found it very hard to recruit people to go there. So I could have stayed, and then I just thought, oh, well, this job back in England, I can get a PhD out of that. I look back and I think, my life could have gone in a completely different direction, but I came back and I did the research job, and that involved going to Nepal and doing field work for 16 months. And then, so basically I was kind of paid to do this research. And then at the end of 3 years, I could take the data and turn it into a PhD, which is what I did. So I don't have any music really from that time. It wasn't, well, I did have a little, what do you call them? Sony Walkman, which went with me everywhere. And I had lots of tapes. And so I listened to a lot of music while I was out there. But unfortunately, it kept being nicked. And so I would buy another one. So I'd come back to, because I was working in kind of villages, and then I'd come back to Kathmandu, buy another Sony Walkman, and then I'd have to buy another one because they were, quite desirable, I suppose. Anyway, so after that, I went back to doing kind of consultancy work as a nutritionist, and that's where my next song comes from. So I was working with Save the Children in Tanzania and Kenya. So there was it's basically with refugees from Rwanda and Burundi. And this particular, well, it wasn't that this Miriam Makeba is particularly significant, it's just an example of the kind of song, because I was based in a place called Kigoma, and we'd have to do these very long journeys up to the refugee camp. So we'd have the music really, really loud in the car. So I don't know if you know Miriam Makeba, but she's very inspirational.
Oddly enough, we did Mum's Desert Island discs on Saturday.
Yes, I went to have a look. No, it was the same one.
Did we notice the choreography, ladies? I think we could attempt that one day.
Mm-hmm. We definitely need the leopard print outfits. Yeah, so before I went out to Africa, I'd actually got together with Roland, my now husband, who lived in Rome with another oil company. Meanwhile, he'd left BP and joined a company called Enterprise Oil, which used to be on Trafalgar Square. And they had an office out in Rome, not because there was, I mean, most of the oil companies were in Milan, but the CEO of Enterprise liked Rome, so he put the office in Rome, which was very nice for anyone who got a job with Enterprise. He was sent to Italy. So he was in Rome and he said, why don't you come and live with me in Rome? So I said, well, yeah, why not? So I lived in Rome for 2 years with him, and we got married out there, which was lovely to do it out there. And I managed to find work. All the UN agencies that are related to food basically have their headquarters in Rome. So there's the Food and Agricultural Organization, there's the World Food Programme, there's the International Fund for Agricultural Development. Anyway, they're all out there. And so I managed to get kind of short-term work while I was living there. But the thing I really loved while I was out there was singing. And I joined the choir at FAO, where I worked most of the time. And then there was another little choir, which was run by a Welsh lady who, well, she used to be Welsh. She married an Italian. And she ran this little ladies choir called the Velka Choir. So I joined that. And this next one is Sound the Trumpet by Purcell, which was one of the pieces that we sang. And we used to be kind of contracted to sing at weddings and things like that. There were about probably 10 of us, but maybe 6 or 7 would be available at any time. And so we did, and then sang kind of around in villages around various festivals and things. It was just a really lovely thing. And of course, the little choir sang at our wedding in the English church. And I actually joined the choir. I can't remember, somebody else sang at them. Oh, it was Katie, I think, who also sang at her wedding, I think she said. So yeah, I sang one piece with them. I don't think it was this one. Anyway, I love this piece. And I found it impossible to find a recording of women singing it, obviously, because it was countertenors at the time. But then I found this recording with Alfred, Alfred and Mark Della, who probably all of you who know about music know them. But the interesting fun fact about this is that the elder one, which is that Alfred, I think, this piece was played at the inaugural recording, not this recording, but he was one of the couple that sang at the first broadcast of the BBC Third programme in 1946. Yeah, so it's like the second piece of the ode for Queen Mary's birthday. Sound the Trumpet. And this is really nice because it's with a guitar as well. It's a bit different to some of the other recordings.
I love the way he shakes his head when he has the
Lynn, have you sung it? Oh.
Yes, I think so. I think I have.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite
ringing a bell.
Normal for women to sing it now, but I couldn't find any recordings. But anyway, yeah. So then moving on to yeah. So we got married in Rome, and also I got pregnant. So we came back so that we could have our family in London or in England, and moved to Wimbledon, as you know. And actually, when we moved here, just had no idea that we'd be in the same place kind of more than 20 years later, because we both lived quite an itinerant lifestyle, and this was just where we were going to have our family, and then move on perhaps, but we're still because it's just such an amazing place to live. I don't know, I'm sure you agree. So the next piece is really, so I've got 2 girls, and both of them are fanatical about ballet. And we used to have this video called Barbie and the Nutcracker, which I know it's really not the right thing to do into a cartoon, but we spent a lot of time in front of this video, and just it's just happy times really with small children. We watched Barbie and the Nutcracker. We also watched lots of videos about little girls growing up and becoming ballerinas and going to like the arts educational school, you know, doing so. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if they had both turned into ballerinas, but of course neither of them has. One's turned into a fanatical rugby player, and the other one is more of a rower and a cyclist. So in a way, that's quite a relief. Anyway, so there's nothing about this particular video which is significant. It's just I looked at a few and I really liked this one. But it reminds me of happy times, sitting on the sofa with two small children. It is loving the music.
I've learned it about halfway through and it gets more, I mean, it starts off delicate and lovely and then it gets really dramatic.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful clip, Veronica. Thanks for finding that. I have to say, when I was just figuring out where to come in and come out, I got really obsessed with whether her dress was coming undone at the back.
Oh no!
I think it is. The zip is just ever so slightly.
Oh,
watch it again. Watch it again.
Extra entertainment.
But also beautiful dancing and wonderful music.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting because I liked that one, and then I looked up to see who they were, and the lady was called Misty Copeland, who is now a very, I mean, she's a lady of color, and was the first. I can't remember exactly what, but some very famous ballet school in America, and she was the first principal dancer who was of color, or who is of color now. Yeah. So she's called Misty Copeland, if you ever hear of her again. So the last piece is, it kind of brings together the beginning and the end of my life, because I had too many that I wanted to play at the beginning. So I thought this one actually fits both the beginning and the end, because just like Heather was saying, you kind of discover, I think it was Heather saying, discovering music through your children. Well, actually this Pink Floyd, I mean, Izzy, my younger daughter, actually discovered Pink Floyd completely independently of me and Rody, and it was this amazing music. And I was like, yes, it is amazing. And I'm so glad I didn't, you know, suggest it to you. So we have listened to Pink Floyd quite a lot together. And I just love the whole of this album. It was completely impossible to choose one track from it. But in the end, I chose this one because it's a woman singing and making the most amazing noise. Yeah, so those are my selections. Actually, there was just one little story that I forgot to tell you, which was right at the beginning, very before everything, which I hadn't heard, but my sister told this story at our wedding as well, which was about when I was a baby. Apparently I crawled out of the front door into onto the road, and literally a lorry driver was driving by and saw me kind of crawling, because there were obviously 3 children under 5, and I think my mother was a bit overwrought probably. Yeah, brought me back safely from the road. So so my sister said, oh yes, and this is Veronica, and here she is in Rome, and you know, she's always been trying to escape or something like that. So
oh wow. Yeah. So thank you very much for the music. Yeah, lovely selection. How would you get on a desert island? Just one more exotic place for you to be?
I mean, I'm quite happy with my own company, but I'm sure I would get very lonely. But yeah, I did think about the luxury.
Yeah.
And the luxury I would like to take is my mattress.
That's a very good idea. And book?
A book, well, there's a book that I've been meaning to read, and it would probably be quite appropriate, which is The Little Prince, which I think is quite philosophical. And so I'd have plenty of time to think about it.
And
about all those issues.
If you could take just one of the discs.
One of the discs. Well, I'd like to take the whole CD of Pink Floyd, probably.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Veronica. Interesting music, very interesting stories indeed. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.
And I will try to edit out the copyright infringing things and get that up. I was saying at the beginning, I've had trouble trying to edit Chris's one, but I'll give it another go. I'm sure we'll get that sorted out sooner or later. Wow, Veronica, you've lived in so many places and done so many things and studied so much different stuff. And you've just finished another great course of study, haven't you, which you haven't mentioned?
Yeah, I have. I've just finished. In Wimbledon, I basically most of the time worked as a part-time lecturer at the University of Westminster. And then I left it for various reasons in 2013 and worked back as a consultant again. But then I had enough work, but I wasn't very good at like keeping up contacts. So I had one major project, and while I did that, I just lost my network, and so I didn't find any more work after that, or I didn't like what was out there. So I decided to retrain in data science. So I've just finished a master's. That was part-time.
It's amazing.
Oh, goodness. You don't make me feel extremely inadequate. 1 degree.
In what?
Well, I mean, sorry?
In what did you read?
Data science. So it's somewhere between statistics and computer science.
Oh, right.
But I mean, the thing is, although I've got the degree now, I don't feel kind of confident to do it. It was really quite, it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I just thought, I can do maths, and I used to do a lot of statistics, in my PhD and stuff, but it was completely different. And I think young people, I mean, I'm sounding like a real kind of geriatric now, but I think they do have a different way of thinking. Like they grow up doing all this computing and coding and stuff, and it doesn't come particularly naturally to me. So I just find it a real struggle. So although I've got the qualification now, I don't know to what extent I can actually market myself as, doing it. So while it was fun at the time, I'm not sure it's really, anyway, we'll see. Watch this space. Yeah, so I'm still trying to decide what I want to be when I grow up.
When you grow up.
Where you're going to go.
Yeah, well, meantime, please keep singing.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me.
That was really great. Thank you.